Hello and welcome to the Banker's Tech Talk video series. I'm Joy Macknight, Deputy and Technology Editor at The Banker. And I'm joined by Steve Pomfret, who's CEO of Cygnetise, a decentralized platform built on the blockchain for managing authorized signatory lists. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me.
So tell me a little bit about what pain points that Cygnetise is really trying to solve for the banks.
Okay, so each organisation, not just banks, have to manage a list of authorised signatories. Authorised signatory could be a bank mandate, delegated authority, or just a list of authorised traders or a list of authorised personnel who have an authority to do something on behalf of the company. Now, the management of that at the moment is really cumbersome and it's normally paper-based. And in large organisations with lots of different entities, it's really difficult to keep on top of. And they have to share this with all of the counterparts. So banks might have hundreds of thousands of corporate customers, for example, who have to keep them updated all the time. So it's a nightmare for the corporate customers and it's a nightmare for the bank.
Okay, and you're using blockchain. How does blockchain really help reduce signatory fraud?
Okay, so first of all, there's signatories and there's signatures. So it's not the signatures, so it's fraud if somebody was to copy your signature. It's signatories. So the process is so cumbersome that if the signatories aren't kept up to date, for example, somebody could leave the organisation and they'll still be on the signatory list or the authorised signatory list or the bank mandate list. So a disgruntled employee, for example, could have left the organisation and then have the authority still to make transactions and sign off on legal documents on behalf of the organisation or the bank or whoever.
But is blockchain compatible with the EU's new General Data Protection Regulation?
It can be. So this is something that we're working on at the moment. We've written a white paper, we're working with lawyers and some big organisations getting some feedback. So as an example, a public blockchain has no central authority, therefore it isn't compatible because there is no one organisation who is responsible for actually looking after that data. But then if you go down into the private or permission blockchains, then yes, they can be compatible, but it depends on how they've been built. Without getting too technical, it depends on where the data is stored. For example, if you have a hash on the blockchain and the data's not stored there, then yes, that's a way around it. And that's something we're working very hard on at the moment. So in short, it can be compatible.
I know Cygnetise is developing its relationships with different banks. What advice could you give to the banks to sort of be a bit more friendly towards fintech startups?
Okay, first of all, they've made great progress from about 5 to 10 years ago. So they have these innovation labs now, which they're there specifically to actually identify the new, smaller, more nimbly operating fintech companies that could significantly help them. Historically, they would not do that. They would go for the bigger organisations that would be, let's just say, more established and secure. Obviously, they don't move as nimbly, so they would miss out on all the innovation. So that's great, but it's what they could do in order to be better at that. They really need to understand their own organisations and their own problems a little bit more. So they can go out and find all the solutions, but it's fitting it together with the problems that they've actually got. So my advice, and coming from an ex-banker, would be for them to work out internally really what their problems are and how to best resolve them.
And something that's top of mind for fintechs operating in the UK is Brexit. What kind of impact do you think Brexit will have on the fintech community?
So for me, out and out, it's just the uncertainty. Whether it's in or out, whether it's what kind of deal, it's the uncertainty. So for us, notably, technical resource. Fintech, the clue's in the title, it's all about technology, and your tech resource is the most important thing. Most of or a lot of the good resource, because of the uncertainty, is returned back to Europe, particularly Eastern European, Italy, Spain, Portugal. Therefore, the cost of resource in London has gone up significantly, which makes it more and more difficult to actually be innovative and respond to the market's needs.
Well, thank you so much for your insight, Steve.
Thank you very much.